Hello everyone, and welcome to this board game overview for Kingdom Death Monsters, Severe Injury Table, and Brain Trauma, since it's basically the same thing, but not on this table, nor am I showing an image of that one. In this, I'll be going over in detail all the available results from the Severe Injury Table. This is not where I will be going over how to affect them, this is just me going, hey, this is the bad stuff that can happen to you, and actually have a role for, as opposed to just, you're dead, or you bleed out, which is still dead. But with that said, let's get to the close-up stuff.
So, severe injuries, with mental traumas to follow afterwards. As a note, this is where it re-specifies that you die if you hit 5 bleeding tokens. Almost all of these have at least 1 bleeding token if they're not auto-death, except many of the 10. Keep in mind, it clarifies here, if you have an injury already and cannot sustain it, you still gain a bleed token, even if you normally wouldn't. The head. 1 through 2. Head explosion. Your head erupts in a shower of gore, killing you instantly. All other survivors are so disrupted, they lose 1 survival. And on a 3 through 4 decapitation, you're just dead. Because of the fact this has a twice as high chance of you auto-dying, with the 1 through 2 being even worse, I recommend with Survival of the Fittest rerolls, you reroll the hit location if you can, assuming it's not a headhunter or something, as opposed to rerolling the die. It is a slightly better chance. But continuing, intractional hemorrhage. You can no longer use or gain survival. This injury is permanent and can be recorded once. Gain a bleeding token. So, this pretty much makes most characters breeding stock, as do many of these. Death. You won't hear it coming. Suffer -1 permanent evasion. This injury is permanent and can be recorded once. Gain a bleeding token. Death can be annoying, but sometimes beneficial. Same thing with blind, which is next. Blind. Lose an eye. Suffer -1 permanent accuracy. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice. If you are blind twice, suffer -4 permanent accuracy, and are retired at the end of the next settlement or showdown phase. 1 bleeding token. Concussion. Your brain is scrambled, like an egg. Gain a random disorder. That's not too bad, unless you're playing Accept the Darkness, then you're 1 step closer, just going permanently crazy. 9. Shattered Draw. You can't do anything involving consuming, encourage, and this does also affect shared knowledge. Gain 1 bleeding token. Destroyed Tooth. If you have 3 or more courage, you boldly spit the tooth out and gain 2 insanity. Otherwise, the blow sends you sprawling and you are knocked down. So, all of these you're knocked down unless they say otherwise, and only the 10s do so. Implying that, the otherwise is you're knocked down as opposed to you stay standing. Now, on to arm, and a note about all the others. 1 and 2 on all the other locations is an auto death. 3 is gain 2 bleeding tokens. So, yeah, not gonna go over those over and over again. From here on out, I'm just gonna skip straight to the 4s. 4. Dismembered arm. You lose an arm. You can no longer activate 2-handed weapons. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice. A survivor with 2 dismembered arms. Injuries cannot activate any weapons. Gain 1 bleeding token. So, yeah, dismembered twice sucks, because then you're basically useless unless you were a fist and tooth character. Surprisingly, you don't lose anything like any accuracy or strength, so either you're a Black Knight biting, or you kind of just, again, breeding stock. 1 isn't too bad, just can't use 2-handed weapons. Oh no. Ruptured muscle for 5. A painful rip. The arm hangs limp. You can no longer activate fighting arms. This injury is permanent and can be recorded once. 1 bleeding token. If you're not a fighting arts heavy character, i.e. you're like a grand weapons master or there's a lot of other simpler combinations, or a support character, this really doesn't fucking matter. But keep in mind, this is all fighting arts, not just ones that are based around attacks. I believe ruptured muscle can be healed. Although, a lot of these can be healed. When I say that, I mean easily. Contracture. The arm will never be the same. Suffer a -1 accuracy. This injury is permanent and can be recorded multiple times. This can suck. You basically become somebody that's just like, I only hit on 10s if you get this enough. 1 time, it's annoying. 2 times, it's a pain in the ass. 3, you're basically useless. 7. Broken arm, an ear-shattering crunch. Suffer a -1 permanent accuracy and -1 permanent strength. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice. So, it's odd that you lose the stats on a broken arm and not a lost arm. I believe broken arm can be healed. I know there is a specific way to get all broken injuries healed. 8. Spiral fracture. Your arm twists unnaturally. Gain -2 strength token, and skip the next hunt. Not bad. You're not dead. You're not permanently screwed. 9. Dislocated shoulder. pop, pop. You cannot activate two-handed or paired weapons or use block until the showdown ends. 1 bleed token. 10 plus. Hit the dirt. The blow sends you sprawling and you are knocked down. That's it. Be happy. Alright, moving on to the body. Again, skipping 1 through 3. Gaping chest wounds. Suffer -1 permanent strength. This is permanent and can be recorded multiple times. Yeah, this kind of also sucks unless you're a support character that's just trying to do effects. Cool, whatever. At least it doesn't turn you into breeding stock. 5. Destroyed back. A sharp, cracking noise. Suffer -2 permanent movement. You can no longer activate any gear that has a 2+ strength. This injury is permanent and can be recorded once. 1 bleeding token. This sucks. Minus movement always sucks because it is the hardest thing to gain, and once you're below 5, keeping up / outpacing things gets to be a pain in the ass. It's hard enough if you're even at 5. But the limit on carrying things does limit a lot of things. Unless you're a support range character, you're kind of screwed. Also, when I say a lot of unless you're this, you can always switch that survivor to that. Disemboweled. Your movement is reduced to 1 until the showdown ends. Gain 1 bleeding token. Skip the next hunt. If you suffer disemboweled during the showdown, at least one other survivor must live to the end of the showdown to carry you back to the settlement. Otherwise, at the end of the showdown, you are lost. Dead. Funny enough, everybody can be disemboweled and they can just help each other back. Doesn't say one non-disemboweled character. 7. Ruptured spleen. Skip the next hunt. Gain 2 bleeding tokens. The 2 bleeding tokens is the shittier part about this. 8. Broken rib. It even hurts to breathe. Suffer -1 permanent speed. This injury is permanent and can be recorded multiple times. Honestly, some people love this. I know that the munchkining members of the community think speed is a horrible stat. I think you just have to do it within reason, or really just play the game as intended, which is you're screwed a lot. Not the point. Some people want this permanently. Again, this counts a broken bone, and those are a lot easier to heal than other things. Collapsed lung. You can't breathe. Gain a -1 movement token, and 1 bleed. That's not too bad, because it's only a token. And 10 plus, blown over. The blow sends you sprawling, you are knocked down. As a note, I'm gonna stop reading those, because that's what it says for all the other 10 pluses. On to waste. As a quick note, while it is a auto death as well, for 1 and 2, adjacent survivors do gain +1 survival. Kind of the opposite of head explosion, except also head explosion's not adjacent. 4. Intestinal prolapse. Ugh. Your gut is gravely injured. You can no longer equip any gear to your waist, as it is too painful to wear. This injury is permanent and can be recorded once. Gain 1 bleeding token. So, this isn't actually that bad if you're playing a character that either, like, People of the Skull, this isn't an issue too much. If you're playing a Leyline Walker, or a Crystalline Skin, or anything that's pretty much you can't wear armor, or don't want to wear armor, again, support characters, you just kind of shrug at this. Warp pelvis. Your pelvis is disfigured. Suffer a -1 permanent lock. That makes no sense. This injury is permanent and can be recorded multiple times. Luck's great, but not necessary. Sucks to lose it, but and 1 bleeding token. Then destroy genitals for 6. You cannot be nominated for Intimacy Story event. This injury is permanent and can be recorded once. Gain a random disorder. You're knocked down. Gazing upwards, you wonder at the futility of the struggle. Gain 3 insanity, and 1 bleeding token. Again, not horrible. The disorder is the crappier part, but for the most part, you just kind of shrug at it, because, oh no. Unless you're running low on people, and then it's, okay, cool. The problem with this one is if you've had another permanent injury that turns you into breeding stock, and this, you are useless. You might as well sacrifice this person as soon as you can. 7. Broken hip. Your hip is dislocated. You can no longer dodge. Suffer -1 permanent movement. This is permanent and can be recorded once. This is a breeding stock one. Like, I wouldn't even want to take this character out as support. The lack of dodge is horrible. Flashback for 8. Making sudden movements is excruciating painful. You cannot surge till the end of the showdown. And 1 bleeding token. That's not too bad, actually. Surge can be great, especially if you're built around it, but losing it for 1 showdown, unless it's on like a primary character, is not bad. You'll get it back. You don't even skip the hunt. 9. Bruised tailbone. The base of your spine is in agony. You cannot dash till the end of the showdown. You're knocked down. Gain 1 bleeding token. So, this is basically the same thing, but I feel that dash, in my personal opinion, is far more important than surge, especially if you're fighting level 2+ monsters. Against a lot of level 1, it's whatever. We move on to leg. Dismembered leg. You suffer a -2 permanent movement and can no longer dash. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice. If you suffer this twice, you've lost both legs and must retire. Honestly, suffering this once, I would want to retire the character anyway. Gain 1 bleeding token. On a 5, hamstrung. Painful rip. The leg is unusable. You can no longer use any fighting arts or abilities, so it's worse than the one that's no fighting arts. This injury is permanent and can be recorded once. Yeah, this can wreck a lot of things, but if you're down to just a hard-hitting, high-statted character, shrug, whatever. 6. Torn Achilles tendon. Your leg cannot bear your weight. Until the end of the showdown, whenever you suffer a light, heavy, or severe injury, you're knocked down. Skip the next hunt. So whenever you take anything other than armor damage or insanity damage, yeah, you're knocked out. Gain a bleeding token. 7. Torn muscle. Your quadricep is ripped to shreds. You cannot dash till the end of the showdown. Skip the next hunt. This is exactly like bruised tailbone, except you have to skip the hunt. Broken leg. Ear-shattering crunch. Adjacent survivors suffer 1 brain damage. Suffer 1 minus permanent movement. This injury is permanent and can be recorded twice. Again, broken limbs are easier to fix, but it sucks that they have permanent stats. And 9 is the same thing as 3, except bloody thighs this time. Gain 2 bleeding tokens. And 10's the same as the other ones. Lastly, we move on to brain trauma. 1 through 10, just like with all the severe injuries, is an auto death. This is possible to be avoided entirely, except the darkness gives you a +2. 3, memory loss. Lose 2 levels of weapon proficiency. This isn't horrible. It's like, okay, cool, you lost the proficiency. Certain things, this with the Twilight Sword, this can actually be good. If you don't have a weapon proficiency, or you just gained one and no points in it, or you want to change one soon anyway, this isn't bad at all. Flee. 4, you're knocked down and suffer knockback equal to your movement towards the closest board edge. Gain 1d5 insanity. Most of these are gain some amount of d-insanity afterwards. 5 through 6. You thrash wildly, dealing 1 damage to yourself and every adjacent survivor. Gain a random disorder, and also 1d5 insanity. I think this is actually worse than Flee, because you're doing damage to people around you as opposed to just knock down. Lunacy. Effectively the same thing as Danger Seizure, just without the damage. Gain a random disorder, and d5 insanity. New Perspective. For 9. This isn't bad at all, actually. You're knocked down, gain d10 insanity. Whatever. Frenzy. There are ways to cause this on purpose. But for a 10... gain 1d5 insanity, 1 speed token, 1 strength token, ignore slow on melee weapons, you may not use survival, you may not use fighting arts, you may not use weapon specializations or masteries. This can be gained multiple times, meaning you still gain the 1d5 and the +1 tokens. Lasts till the end of the showdown. 11. Maniacal Laughter. You're knocked down. Gain -1 speed token and the priority token. 1d5 insanity. Well, yeah, you laugh loud, monsters are gonna notice you. Clarity. You're knocked down. Add your current survival to your insanity and reduce your survival to 0. Gain a random disorder. Period. If you already have 3 disorders, you die. This can be interpreted in 2 different ways. In a situation where the rule of death would be called, aka, the game is being slowed down, folks. Remember, rule of death is not automatically choose the worst thing. If you gain your 3rd disorder this way, you're dead. It can also be read as, if you already had 3 disorders at the beginning of this, you're dead. And lastly, 13. Impossible! How could this happen? Gain d10 survival, d10 insanity, and 2 luck tokens.
Alright everyone, thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. If it was, please feel free to press the like button. If you think this will help somebody else, please share this video. If you think this video wasn't helpful, feel free to press the dislike button, but please leave a constructive comment as to why. Also, feel free to comment in general, and if you want to see more like this, be it more board game overview videos, my Let's Plays, or my painting videos, and anything else that I do on this channel, feel free to subscribe. Regardless, thank you for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.